Ethan Nwaneri is on absolute fire for Arsenal, but Bukayo Saka will return at some point, and you'd think take back that right wing spot. So will with Ethan Nwaneri play? Could the two play together? Could Bukayo Saka have to move into a different position? And I know that kind of thing upsets Arsenal fans. So let's try and discuss it all in this video today. We're going to start by talking about why Ethan Nwaneri has just been so good, and why we need to respect the work he's been doing, why we need to actually take into account how good he's been from the areas that he's playing on the pitch, and why we're probably going to have to want to keep him in similar areas as we develop him in the coming years. His stats for this season: the 24-25 campaign, in all competitions, 15 appearances, 7 goals and assists. That makes it 8 goals and assists in total, because when you add 1 to 7 you get 8. Nwaneri's goals and assists per 90 minutes according to LiveScore has him at 0.97. This is across Europe's top 5 leagues, looking at selected under 21 players, and it shows you how well he's competing with the likes of Florian Wirtz, Lamine Yamal, Jamal Musiala, Jude Bellingham, Benjamin Sesko, Savinho and others. He's just in terrific form. This is one of the most exciting young talents in European football, there's no question of it. So when our players return, like Bukayo Saka, and of course the likes of Martinelli and Kai Havertz have been ahead of Ethan Nwaneri in the pecking order too, the question remains, how do we get them all in the same team? That's not going to be easy, because the first thing I want to show you is his goals and assists this season. We mentioned the 7 goals and the 8 assists, and as you can see here, we'll highlight it in yellow, so much of his work, in fact almost all his work, coming in the right side of the pitch, because he gets into this area and he's able to get shots at goal. And when he had the ball here, he got the assist for Mikel Merino too. This is someone who is really dangerous with his left foot coming in off the right. Whether he's hugging the touchline or he's sitting in the pockets, he's able to. Look how many times he's found goals in that far corner already. But when he has been crashing the box as well, it's been from that right hand side, getting assists, I think, from Raheem Sterling in the Cup, and then late in the league he's been able to have an impact really from that right hand side. And yes, Bukayo Saka is going to return, but you don't want to take him away from the area of the pitch, so you move him a little bit more inside. Who's there? Martin Odegaard. Let's have a little look at the Arsenal team and try to discuss how Nwaneri plays with all of them, because like I mentioned, Odegaard's here, Saka's here. Where does Ethan Nwaneri come into it? Now the reality is you've got Kai Havertz and Martinelli who feel like they probably need upgrading on in the summer. So could you play in one of those positions fundamentally? Could you get Ethan Nwaneri as your solution and go, cool, Kai Havertz out the team, Ethan Nwaneri false 9? I mean, maybe, why not? He's got the lower body strength, looks after the ball really well, great strike at goal, he's got an instinct for where the ball's going to end up in the penalty area. So you could do that. You could even have him potentially out on the left. He's shown that he's got the ability to take on fullbacks and beat them. He's been doing that really well out on the right. Why on his left foot could he not do that too? I do think Bukayo Saka has a bit more pace than him, although I might be wrong, but it feels to me like Bukayo Saka's quicker. So therefore maybe Bukayo Saka can move out to the left hand side. And then you've got Nwaneri doing what he does so well out on that right. Now this is the kind of idea that upsets Arsenal fans, because they'd say, why would you remove one of the best right wingers in world football from his best position? Well, I'll say 2 things to that. Firstly, yes, I agree, I wouldn't do that. I've actually got other solutions, and I'll bring that in a sec. But I think the idea that Bukayo Saka could play on the left and still get loads of goals and assists isn't crazy. I mean, look at Rafinha this season. Let me show you his numbers. He's actually moved to the left, playing 26 times on the left wing because of the development of Lamine Yamal at Barcelona. And he still managed to get 21 goals and 8 assists. This is as a left footer on the left wing. He was signed to be a right winger. When we were looking at him, it was because of the work he could do on the right wing. I think for the international side, he's been doing his work on the right. But at Barcelona, because of Lamine Yamal's development, they've moved him to the left, and his output has been sensational. So I don't really think Bukayo Saka's output needs to be massively affected just because Ethan Nwaneri is now playing on the right and Saka's having to play on the left. I actually think Bukayo Saka could be brilliant on that side, but like I said, it wouldn't be my solution. For anyone who gets upset about it, by the way, Mo Salah, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, they've all had to move position at some point. I remember Mo Salah when Liverpool was struggling about 3-4 years ago. I think Mo Salah was moved to the striker position, even though he was the best right winger in football. He was moved to the striker position with Firmino dropping to the 10 and Shaqiri coming out onto the right hand side. So to bring Shaqiri into the team, Mo Salah moved into a different position because Klopp needed to use him in a different way. So the idea that your best player has to move position sometimes isn't crazy, and I think we should be open to it. Though, like I said, it wouldn't be my solution. Let's go through a few others. The first thing is that you simply take Odegaard out of the team, because we know that there's always going to be a box-to-box player in there. with Declan Rice. Mendy's probably going to come and play Partey's position. So you simply put Ethan Nwaneri in for Ødegaard. Ødegaard hasn't been at his best, and he's someone who can get on the ball, make things happen, and then him and Saka two-pronged attack down that side. I think it could be brilliant. The issue I've got with this is, don't underestimate the work, if we take Ethan Nwaneri out for a sec, don't underestimate the work that Ødegaard does, A, on the press, meaning that we can sort of have two more robust central midfielders behind, but also how often he drops in to receive the ball off Saliba and Gabriel, with Havertz drifting right to support Saka and Rice bombing forward a little bit more. Ødegaard helps in so many different phases of play that, is Ethan Nwaneri going to do that? I'm not so sure. The question then is, well, if Partey's leaving, can you simply ask Ødegaard to be the left 8? And then you've got that more kind of final third killer in Nwaneri. Ødegaard's still got creativity to combine with Lewis Skelly and Martinelli, but he can also drop deeper alongside Declan Rice so that Nwaneri can get a little bit closer to goal. That is potentially a way to use the three of them in midfield, but what Mikel Arteta actually has done when he has used Ethan Nwaneri and Ødegaard in midfield, he's actually played Ethan Nwaneri in the left 8. He did that in pre-season against Man United. I thought he looked brilliant from that side, but again, then you're asking him to drop into the central midfield partnership alongside Declan Rice, and that's again a lot of, I know you're playing with one of the most ground covering, elite ball winners in Declan Rice, but still a lot of responsibility for what is a 17-year-old now, but an 18-year-old even next season, 19-year-old the year after that. Nwaneri's got quite a long time before he's like a, more of a young man sort of playing in this team and able to, perhaps take on some of that central midfield responsibility. So the problem we have here is that there's no perfect role for Nwaneri. I've mentioned him out on the left wing, but I don't think that plays to his strengths, as we mentioned with the goals and assists from this season. I mentioned the right wing, but that affects Bukayo Saka. You're playing him as a left 8, but then that's asking him to do a very different role, perhaps have more in mind defensively, or you put him as the right 8 and you change Ødegaard's position, which for me is my favourite solution. We just haven't seen Arteta do it. So there's a bit of an issue either way. Either way, there's some sort of cost or compromise to the team, which I don't think is such a bad thing, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's going to change the dynamics in some way, shape or form. Now, my ultimate sort of conclusion on, the way Arsenal should be managing this situation is simply this. Ethan Nwaneri shouldn't be a guaranteed name on the Arsenal 11, on the team sheet, for probably another 2-3 years. And the reason I say this is because if we are going to develop this team right, and we're going to plug the holes that are needed in midfield and in the 9 position out on the left wing, they still need to be addressed with signings, and therefore Ethan Nwaneri can still play a hell of a lot of football across the coming years. But I don't think at any point should he be a guaranteed starter in this team. Let me show you Phil Foden and his development, right? What we've got here is the 17-18 campaign where City won their first title under Pep Guardiola. And as you can see, 5 appearances. Before the season after that, 13 appearances. It went up to 23, then up to 28, then up to 28 again, if I can read that correctly, and then 32 the season after that. So it took a long time before he actually made 30 or more Premier League appearances. Bukayo Saka has been thrust into that almost immediately. He was making up to 30. But you can see his minutes going up from 44 to around 300, 800, 1,600, 2,100. Again, a little bit of a dip to 1,000, just under 2,000 there, before the big jump to 2,800. Foden's minutes were managed very, very carefully, and he built up to a point in which he was basically playing every minute for Man City in the season in which he was the Premier League player of the season. Let me show you the players that were at Man City in Foden's position the 18-19 campaign, because he's played on the left, on the right, he's played central midfield, and he's played as a false 9. So as he comes into the team, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Silva, two Silvas, Bernardo, David, Raheem Sterling, Leroy Sané, Mahrez, Aguero and Jesus were all in the squad when Phil Foden came in and developed. The problem we have with Ethan Nwaneri is he's playing so well that you feel he's got to be in Arsenal's best 11. But Phil Foden showed an immense amount of potential when he broke into the Man City 11, or broke into the first team squad, should I say, when there was all this excitement about, what Phil Foden was going to do for City and his contribution to come and the future he was going to have and being England's next star, all this stuff. But look at the names I've just mentioned that were ahead of him, potentially in the pecking order, in about 3-4 positions that he was trying to break into. And the reason this is important is because it meant he could come in at times, he could get the odd start, he could play alongside some really, really top players without having to be the main man until he was ready to be the main man. And boy, did he step up when he did. Ethan Nwaneri, I fear, is going to be thrust into a position where he's got to be one of the main men immediately. And yes, you got Ødegaard, the captain in central midfield, with him, along with Declan Rice, who's a £100 million player, and you've got Bukayo Saka, who can play on the right wing and be the star boy for Arsenal that he has been for a while still, Bukayo Saka, and be that flagship player and the main guy. But I just feel like if you're going for titles and big competitions, you need about 6, 7, 8 main guys. And should Ethan Nwaneri be one of them so soon? I'm not so sure. That is my feeling around this situation. To make a final prediction, if we take it back to the tactical power one more time, I think it's going to look like this. I think getting Nwaneri and Saka in the same team is going to look like this, and Ødegaard will take up more defensive responsibility, and you still get Ethan Nwaneri in those areas of the pitch where he can hurt people. But I'd love Arsenal to sign a 10. I'd love Arsenal to sign a striker. I'd love Arsenal to sign a left winger, and even bring in a Sven Nijpan to add more, a nicer complement of midfielders there with the right footer too. And then Ethan Nwaneri can come in at the right time, at a right pace, and his development can just be managed carefully like Phil Foden's was, rather than us feeling like we've got to play him because he's so good. The reality is, though, when you're playing at the level Ethan Nwaneri is, even if you have all those other players, people will be calling for him to play because he's that good. So maybe we'll have no choice at the end. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Where will Ethan Nwaneri play with Bukayo Saka long term? Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet to be kept up to date with all the latest Arsenal news. Catch you in a bit.